Rahama Wright, and I am the founder of Shea. And I just want to start off by thanking Mayor Bowser for this 202 Masterclass. I'm here today with an entrepreneur as well as a filmmaker and a graduate of the 202Creates residency, Jerry, and I would like to welcome you to the program.
Thank you, Rahama. What's up, everyone? My name is Jarell Mique, and I am co-founder and director of Create for Everything, which is a DC-based production agency and creative incubator based in downtown. And it was previously known as the DC's first all-Asian run art studio. I am an alumni of 202 Creates' residency program. So I'm definitely excited to be here, excited to participate, and excited to just communicate and share my experiences and share Rahama's experiences as well.
Yeah, so I am so looking forward to this conversation. I think that over the last few years, there has been so much interest in the maker movement, the creator movement, the fact that we have resources like 202 Creates, and you're part of that program and went through that program. I just want to start off by asking you, how did you get into the creative economy? What inspired you to be a creative entrepreneur?
Dang, that's a good question. I love how you phrased that. I would say I got into this industry basically through Instagram meetup group back in the day. Yeah. I would say this is like 6 years ago. And I just like picked up a camera one day. I used to be in the military. I'm a veteran, and I'm an Army veteran. And during my time in the military, to relax and on my downtime, I would basically pick up a camera and kind of just shoot around the city. And during this time, I found communities like Street Meet DC, Walk with Locals, and IGDC. And kind of from there, I kind of like cultivated this like passion for filmmaking and passion for DC. And so during that time, I kind of slowly fell in love with the city and started basically trying to tell more stories throughout my time. So as soon as like things started kind of picking up and I started realizing I was kind of like pretty decent at it and I loved the game, basically, I finished my contract in the military and decided to go freelancing full time. So that was 6 years ago. And now I could definitely say it's definitely been a long journey, but it's been a good time for sure.
You haven't looked back.
Yeah, definitely definitely not from the military for sure.
Well, thank you for your service. Yes. I think that's a phenomenal part of your story is that you served your country. So for me, I was a Peace Corps volunteer. So my company is a social impact beauty brand that ethically sources raw materials from women in West Africa, Northern Ghana specifically. And if you had asked me, if I were to be a business owner, entrepreneur when I was in college, I would look at you like you were crazy because that was not part of the plan. The plan was to finish my poli-sci degree and work for the government and work for the State Department. But I did a pit stop in Peace Corps. I lived in a rural village for the very first time and served at a community health center. So women would come into my health center looking for health services for either themselves or their children. And frequently they would leave unable to pay for the services or unable to pay for medicine. And I'm talking about really, in our context, really affordable, something that cost $1 or $2. And that really struck me. And I wanted to learn more about how women made money in my community. Many of them were subsistence farmers and lived off the land. And so I discovered this natural product, shea butter, that has become so popular in hair and skincare. But the women in Africa who are part of this huge global supply chain that's worth multi-billion dollars can barely make $1 from their labor. And so that kind of set me on this journey to develop a brand that would look at how to elevate the role of these women in their communities, provide them access to all the resources that they would need. So everything from access to capital, access to production equipment, to transform a natural plant-based product, Shea, and bring it to market in the form of soaps, in the form of creams and body moisturizers, body cleansers. And by doing that, we help them increase their income 5 times their country's minimum wage, giving them a living wage for the very first time. So yeah, it really, I often say I have no business being in a beauty business because for me, it really is about community economic development and impact. But super fortunate to have amazing partnerships like with Macy's, Whole Foods, MGM Resorts, and have really grown this business in amplifying the role of women, the role of African women, and really changing the way we bring these products to market.
Wow, that is amazing. I love that. I definitely support uplifting women, and I definitely support creating like basically a whole new economy for this people. Definitely a different angle than what other people are doing with their products. So
yeah, and I think for what your work and what you do is that storytelling piece, and that being able to, as a small business owner that's working in a product-based business, but also that has the supply chain, people like you give us the opportunity to really amplify what it is we're trying to do. So can you walk me through how you create a story, and like, what are some of the things that you look for when you're capturing your images and your audio, and really, being that filmmaker that translates, something that people might not even like be aware of or look at, and really translate it into a powerful story that can make a difference?
Yes, definitely. Personally, my first step is literally falling in love with the story. Being the only way I can imagine creating a compelling or engaging story is by really immersing yourself and really processing and receiving that. And so having like a transparent heart and an open mind when you're looking at these stories and you're working with these clients or people who are just covering a story in general, I'll definitely say my first step for sure is just like being human and like trying to really share that story with other people so other people can really engage with that. After that, then it goes into the composition of how I would like to aesthetically share that and what kind of style I would like to share that story in. So whether it be a narrative documentary style, whether it's a conceptual style, or just something different that I've not tried yet. So, I mean, and then basically from there, I would work with the client and kind of figure out like what their angle is and how they would like to appreciate like their story being told. And when it comes to audio, really just focusing on having the clearest audio that you can, genuinely. Because when it comes to video, the worst thing you could do, in my opinion, is have, corrupted audio or like just not standard audio for sure. So yeah, that's definitely basically like my storytelling concepts.
Yeah. And is this something you have to go to film school to do, or is it something that can be self-taught?
Honestly, I don't think you have to go to film school for it. Majority of my colleagues and really good friends that are professionals in this industry have not gone to film school. I only know genuinely a small handful that have. And of course, they're very successful and they're doing amazing things in the industry. But what you can learn from just working on different sets and working with different crews, working with different directors and producers, that knowledge will take you so much faster. And the network that you get will take you so much faster than school, in my opinion.
Yeah. I kind of feel like that might be like an old school part, way to get to being successful in film is kind of going through that, going to a great school that's well known. And but now with the advent of technology, social media, it seems like it takes away that step, because now anyone who has a phone can be a storyteller. Yeah. So how do you think like social media has helped you in your journey?
Oh man. Oh God. I think social media is essential. I think social media, at the end of the day, social media is marketing. Personally, I've been in the game for like 6 years, I would say. And only a few years ago, I would say 3 years ago, is when I created my first website, genuinely. And all of my clientele would be based off of Instagram and word of mouth. And I was able to sustain myself and create my own business through that. And I think media is a huge key component in just like sharing your work and also just expressing yourself so you can confidently see how like, it's basically you're publishing your work. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like, if you're confident in your work enough to publish it and share it with the world, then you're confident in your work. And then if you enjoy it and you put it out there, like, you're going to be able to see your progress on the next time you publish your work and so on. So
it's that like immediate feedback that you get with an audience. And it doesn't necessarily, what I'm hearing from you is that it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect. Like, there's an experimental nature to storytelling.
Yes, for sure. I don't know. How would you describe social media, especially being an entrepreneur? How does social media affect your business and your approach with your business and your company?
Yeah, I think that social media gives product-based businesses the opportunity to share their brand, to share their products in real time. And for us, I just came back from Ghana. I was in Ghana for a few weeks and did a lot of like capturing of the cooperatives that we work with, the women in our cooperatives and in our supply chain, and being able to like real time share that experience with our audience, like increased our engagement exponentially. And so I think that for me, I have this kind of love-hate relationship with social media because you have to be on it. And when you're a small business, there's so many different things pulling at your time and your attention that you can be like, oh, have we posted this story yet? Have we done? So it can be one of those things where it's like, it can fall to the wayside, but it's so critically important to stay on top of it, to be consistent, to share your story, to share your products. And so it absolutely is something that needs to be part of any small business's like strategic plan, marketing plan, but can also be a lot of work. And I don't think people talk about that. It's not simply just posting something. It's posting something that will resonate. It's something that connects with your audience and understanding who your audience is, at least from the perspective of a product-based business, so that you're giving them content that appeals to them and content that they want to engage in.
That's funny.
And then I also think there's that business side, right? So it's like the tactical, this is my product, this is what my product will do for you, et cetera. This is how we source. But then people want to know the person behind the brand. And so there's this additional, now I have to get on here and do a live and talk about my day. And sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming. And I try to not take it too seriously and just have fun with it.
That's exactly how I approach it for sure as well, when it comes to just like having fun with it and trying not to take it too seriously. It's funny because all my friends and all the people that I work with, everyone's like, oh, Jerry's the BTS guy. I mean, like, first of all, I love video.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if there's a moment that I'm having a good time in, I'm definitely going to like record a cute little clip. And like, thankfully, like just in the natural aspect of like, I just want to share this beautiful moment. Like, and if I were to post it on my stories or post it on my feed, like it creates that momentum and then everybody else also gets really excited. So like, it's literally just so essential to just like create that image, create that relationship and that authenticity of your lifestyle. But you can also be intentional with it too, which is what you were saying. So definitely like on a product aspect, like I'm selling my life, I'm selling myself, I'm selling well, this vision of like, hey, like this is what it looks like. This is what we do every day. This is what.
Yeah, I think too, like there's a place for social media and there's a place for, kind of where the world is going, where every moment has to be documented, every moment has to be shared. But there's also, I don't think it replaces human face-to-face interaction, or at least it shouldn't. And I think there's still value in cultivating and developing relationships. And I know for me, I mean, I started my business in my early 20s with no experience. I knew nothing about the beauty industry. I'd never worked for a beauty brand or beauty company, never lived in New York City or Paris or LA, which are huge hubs for beauty, right? And I've been able to get as far as I have because of relationships, hands down. And I think that social media gives you the ability to engage with people you may never meet in person, right? But then there's this other layer of like cultivating and creating strong relationships within your network, within your community. How do you go about doing that? How do you create, or how has relationship building helped with building your filmmaking business?
I would say creating community has been an essential part in my business. My business right now is basically, I'm the director of my studio and I'm a freelance producer. And the studio, it's what we do here is we create space just like the 202 Creates program, where we give artists a chance to have ideas and execute them with a full team that supports them with much less limitations than others. And it's basically me that supports them, me and my team. So like creating these relationships with artists all over the city to just uplift them. It's like, it's such a blessing to be able to see them from like where they weren't so confident in their idea, or they were just passionate and it was just passion, to execution. And like the only way we were able to even get to this point of like finish, or just through the finish line, was like creating that camaraderie and that relationship of like, okay, hey, like we're doing this together. We're like, this is not just about like you're working in this cool space or you're working with fun people. Like we're working together to create your vision and your dream. So
yeah,
having that trust, it's like, it's essential, especially just even in a team in general, just to have that trust, because like if without that, then you're just like, then it's chaos. It leads to bad product. It leads, it just leads to burnt bridges and everything. So, I mean, for sure, like those, how would you say, what would be your experiences?
I think the key word that you said is trust. And I think that integrity is part of it as well, and communication. And I think that if you have those in any business relationship or business environment, you can only be successful. Those are like the recipe for success, is having those three things. And I think too that, business things happen, right? Things don't work out perfectly. And oftentimes I don't think people talk enough about the challenges or talk about the issues that happen within the business world. I've been doing this full-time since 2014, but I've been an entrepreneur since I was a Peace Corps volunteer. So for me, it's like, I've seen everything. I've seen it all. I've had issues where consultants and contractors don't deliver, or, you go down a certain path, it doesn't work. You pay for something and you lose your money. That's happened so many times. Or, you put a lot of effort and energy into something and then it doesn't turn into anything. And you've been delayed 6 months on a project, for example. And out of all of that, I think it's so important for people to communicate well, create trust in a relationship. Like when I refer people, like to me, that's one of the most sacred things, like making sure if someone refers me, I do a good job, I deliver. And if I can't, like communicating it. And I think that they're even more so than teaching people, basic business skills or teaching people about marketing and branding. I think there needs to be an entire segment within the business and small entrepreneurial community where we talk about conflict resolution. How do you resolve problems when they happen? How do you maintain your integrity when a problem happens? Because trust and believe, there will always be problems in the business world, in anything, right? It's not just with entrepreneurs. It's like you could be working for, the government or working for a large company. There's always going to be issues and challenges. And I truly believe if people can communicate, if there's trust, if there's integrity, any problem can be solved.
Yeah, definitely. You said that you've been doing this since 2014, you'd say?
Yeah, full time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm an OG. Don't let the youthful appearance from the Shea that I use fool you.
That's great. When did we meet, Rahama?
I don't know, actually.
I feel like 20.
I do not know. It must have been 15 or 16. Yeah, it must have been 15 because that's when we had a location on H Street.
Yes. You know what's crazy? That is the first studio that I've ever been in. And that was kind of like a big beginning of to like where I'm at right now of like creating a space. So it is definitely a full circle moment to be speaking with you right now.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in your studio 6 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, look at me. I'm out here.
Yeah, no. I mean, and the other thing about relationship building is I feel that you might think you will have just one interaction with someone. And I promise everyone that I've met and just thought, oh, I'll never see this person again. They show up, whether it's 6 years later, 10 years, 2 years, like it's just amazing to me how, like, for example, I got my first round of capital from an individual that I met at an event who remembered me and like recommended me for a program. And you just never know, like relationships are so important when you're building a business and you just never know like who is opening doors for you or even maybe closing doors for you because you can't be everywhere at once, right? And so for me, I think relationship building has been my secret sauce because I went from like being this, dusty Peace Corps volunteer to, being appointed to a presidential council during the Obama administration. And all of that happens through kind of the relationships you build and cultivate. And I'm not talking about transactional ones. I'm talking about real relationships where you're aligning your values or you're aligning your beliefs with a community and activating it.
I think that's key. I think a lot of people definitely run away from the concept of just like, or just basically like, it's really easy to just like give up on certain parts or give up on certain relationships or give up on or certain transactions or anything or certain like challenges just because of what it comes with. How would you say on a sustainability point, how would you say you've been able to like survive this long? Because like for me, I'm still shocked to this day, honestly, like myself, that I'm able to like, keep it going. Because there's definitely times where I struggle and I trip. And I personally just got out of a nice little rut myself, like this past week. And I had to really kick my butt just to survive and get it popping again. But
yeah, I think what you're talking about too is something we don't talk about enough in the entrepreneurial space and business space, which is the mental health component and how you do have to have a tremendous amount of self-motivation. You can take every course, you can read every book, you can watch every YouTube, show on like business, et cetera, but there's so much self-motivation that's a part of this journey and so much of resiliency. And it can be incredibly mentally taxing and difficult, especially when we choose, and this is a choice, we're making this choice to be entrepreneurs, to be creators. And when you make this choice, oftentimes it can be very isolating. Oftentimes you're experiencing so much rejection, so much disappointment, that it can play with your mental health and wellness. It really can, because as you said, you're referencing this rut that you're going through or just came out of, and you will get another rut, right? You'll get another, it'll come. It might be, 2 months from now or 5 years from now. And the way that I've been able to deal with it is, one, I 100% am all in on my mission. Like I truly believe to my core at a cellular level that African women in the shea butter supply chain deserve to be compensated for their labor. Like that, to me, no one can convince me otherwise of that at all. Like that is to the core of my value system, that I can't give up on that mission. I just cannot. It's, to me, a social justice issue. To me, it's an inclusion issue. To me, it is challenging and breaking generational poverty To me, it's tearing down racism and supply chains that keep people like me, people of color, Black women, Black people in extreme levels of poverty, despite the fact that they have access to these incredible resources. And these resources historically have been exploited to their disadvantage. I mean, you cannot get a product anywhere in the world that has shea butter in it and an African woman wasn't a part of the supply chain. It's impossible. The tree only grows in Africa. Women are the only harvesters. It affects approximately 16 million women across 21 countries. So this is a huge issue. It's a huge problem. And if people are bringing this product to market and not centering and prioritizing women, they're essentially supporting exploitation and essentially using slave labor. Honestly, it's just that black and white to me. There's no gray. And so I think having that belief and commitment to changing that issue is what keeps me going. The women that I work with, they're not random strangers that are in a village that I just so happened to drive by during an excursion on some, trip to the motherland. These are women I've known for years. I know when they have babies. I know when someone in their family dies. These are family. These are people that I truly care about, and they care about me too. It's a two-way relationship. It's not one way at all. We've had these women come to the US. They've walked in a Whole Foods that sells their products. They've talked to our customers. And so they're really integrated in our supply chain. And so having that understanding of my why and the reason I get up every day to push this mission forward helps me kind of weather the storms. Because for me, I know that any social justice movement, if you look historically, any one of them, sometimes that movement outlived the people working and pushing for that justice. And so if I were to think to myself, oh, this should only happen in 2 years or 3 years or 5. No, movements happen in decades. And so really level setting and understanding that this is something that is not going to be overnight. And it's hard because in our, business world, it's like the person who gets to the finish line the fastest is the winner, right? Like the person that gets that, huge contract is the winner, or getting your business to unicorn status and becoming a billionaire is the winner. And you have to mentally change the way you look at success, change the way you look at achievement, change the way you even look at your own journey. And until you do that, it's going to be a really tough time. So that's one thing, just really understanding why I'm doing what I'm doing, understanding it's something that's not going to happen overnight. It's something that will take time. And then I think the third and final way I handle it is having a really strong spiritual practice. For me, being an entrepreneur has been my way to test my faith muscle for sure. When things don't work out, and I've been that entrepreneur who was like on a blow-up mattress in my best friend's living room, sleeping there for 6 months because I was so broke, right? Yeah. And I've been an entrepreneur, is running a 7-figure business. So you got to weather those ups and downs and those storms, right? And I think without having a strong spiritual practice, it would be very difficult for me to do that. And I also believe in therapy. Like everyone needs a therapist. This is stuff that you can't handle on your own, you can't do on your own. And that's what keeps me going and has kept me going over the years. And also just understanding to give yourself grace, give yourself kindness. We're both people of color, right? We understand how the world views us and the way the world sees us and some of the limitations that are put on us simply because of the way we physically look, right? And just giving yourself grace. Like it is going to be harder for us, but doesn't mean we shouldn't stand up and fight for what we believe.
Yeah, definitely. you said two things that really resonate and that definitely kept me going, which is perspective and giving yourself grace.
Yeah.
And perspective, you're right. Like you can't be like, especially like being a freelancer producer, right? Like you cannot just be chasing the next bag. It's not all about the quick buck. Like it's not, not even about paying your rent at the end of the day. It's making the moves that will invest and like, that will literally like make that impact that you're looking for. Cause that is what will set the seeds for your success.
Yeah.
So many times where like, you know, when it comes to like how I've been trying to approach it, I've had to like really like set myself straight again and be like, hey, like this is not what you're looking for. This is not the goal. Like, yes, you got this because you worked for this and you worked hard and this is what you deserved. And this is what was blessed to you. But now like you got to keep focusing forward and not just like thinking about, oh, these are dubs. Like these are just like little stepping stones because your goal is so much bigger than all of this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I also want to kind of delve in a little bit more and talk about the business aspects of our businesses. So like, you know, like knowing that we want to get to profitability, that you want to get to financial sustainability, that you don't want to worry, like you said, paying your rent and all of that things. And, you know, for like 2 years straight, I had issues paying my rent, like, right? And there are really, really low lows. There are times where you're just like, why am I doing this again? Like, and not chasing that dollar and not letting that be your reason for doing. But it's also an important aspect of building a business and being a creator. So how do you financially plan? Like, how do you know, like, okay, I am making the right decisions that feed me, right? That feed my creativity, that make me feel good about, you know, getting up and, you know, everything I do daily. But then on the number side, like, how do you also make decisions so that you're moving towards building like a sustainable, profitable business?
Personally, I would say that when it comes to like financial stability, it is definitely all about your angle and how you approach this business. Because everybody, especially like as an entrepreneur, everyone thinks there's only one way to make money and one way to like be successful. When literally there's so many avenues, there's so many ways to receive passive income, there's so many ways to acquire new clients and deliver new products. So for me, it's never been just about like, what is the one way that you can, you know, that I could be just like, if I were just to be making videos for everybody and that was it, I would literally burn myself out after the first like 3 months, especially not, 'cause I don't have that energy anymore. So like now I'm definitely just like, I definitely had to look for new ways to approach that. I definitely had to understand and price myself appropriately to where, okay, like if this is taking this much energy from me, how do I price this appropriately to where I can be paid well, I can hire out and pay my comrades well, and still deliver a quality product. And I think that honestly, that just took time. And that able to have the confidence to do that. It took time to have the confidence to produce at that level and to build a team that I trusted. And so it's for sure. I mean, yeah. And when it comes to other products, that's also why personally I have the studio, because I'm blessed to have this space, because I have this space that I can literally create genuinely whatever I want. And what I want and what I believe in, it's focused on uplifting the people around me. And like, thankfully, with the background that I have from filmmaking and producing, I'm able to create programs and that actually can finance myself and finance others. And
I think what I'm hearing you say is that, one, you have to price yourself appropriately. And I 100% agree with that. The other thing too is that you may start doing one thing, but then it evolves. And that evolution allows you to not only financially sustain yourself, but in doing that, you can also help others. And that's the studio that you've developed and that you're building is allowing you to do that and is allowing that evolution to happen. And now it's ties back into the community conversation we were talking about, right? And I am 100% like so in line with this, because I believe that a lot of times, especially when you're a micro business, a small business, you're just starting out, there is this unhealthy relationship with competition. I personally think, right, where people don't operate from a place of abundance. Instead, the mindset is like, I got to get mine. I got to hold on tight to what I have. I can't share. Yeah. And you're flipping that on its head and saying, actually, when I'm in community with other creators, when I have a physical space and I can bring people to that space and we can work together, share ideas, share resources, it helps everyone. And it gets us to that sustainability. So it's more than just Jerry and his video editing and filmmaking, but now it's the studio and everyone whose lives are touched by that studio, and how we can support each other. And I love the word uplift each other. And so that's what I'm hearing from you. And I'm so on board with that. And like for the audience that's going to be tuning into this, I think the pricing thing is so important, because I have worked with businesses, small businesses, makers in DC through this pop-up program that I do, where we take over spaces, we do pop-ups. We just completed one in DuPont Circle. And it's surprising to me, let's say you have 10 makers, 8 out of those 10 makers won't know how to sell themselves, won't know how to represent their brand, will feel shy about asking people to buy their products. And they're good in terms of creating like really good quality products and making it. But beyond that, they are very uncomfortable with that pricing, with getting someone to buy their products. And I think that is one of the barriers, like the mental hoops that you have to jump through when you're running a business. Being comfortable with pricing, being comfortable with the numbers, and asking for what you deserve and what you need. And I think that's such an important part of it, and not being afraid to say, this is my product, it costs this much. And the reason why I think it's a great product for you, it's X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And if someone could like literally do like a mental exercise and just like practice that over and over again until they get it and feel good about it and be able to do that in front of other people, I feel like that is the first step in building a sustainable, profitable business, is being bold about getting people to buy your products and not being shy and not, And the way I always interpret it is when so micro businesses, small businesses, when our brands grow and when we get access to the customers that we need, we're changing our communities. That changes blocks. That changes where we live, right? Because now we are increasing our tax base, right? We believe in living wage jobs. We believe in quality products. We believe in selling to the folks who live in our communities. We're makers, we're creators. And we should always be bold about getting the dollar. We should always, because we know when that money is going away from, let's say, the traditional large multi-billion-dollar businesses, nothing wrong with them. But when we get a bit of market share into our businesses, that's how we change our communities. And I'm a huge believer in working together, working with other small businesses, even if you're literally selling the same service or product. Because here's the thing, when we come together and when we help each other, we can help reduce our costs of doing business. We can help with amplifying each other. We talked about social media. We get on each other's social pages. We amplify each other that way. And we can do a better job of telling a story to our government leaders so that they're making decisions when they're creating those budgets to support the initiatives that we need, right? And that's where this whole entire 202 Creates movement came from. It was the makers who said, we need this. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, there was government leaders in place who supported it and created the budget and aligned those resources to create those opportunities. And so, you know, I think the tweet should be bold about getting that dollar.
Yeah, definitely tweet that. I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
And basically, what would you say you're working on right now that you're excited about, especially with Shea? What would you say is like that excites you right now, what you're working on?
Yeah, well, we are building a makerspace beauty factory in Ward 7 of Washington, D.C. that I'm very excited about. And it is the first makerspace specifically designed for beauty entrepreneurs. So we'll also have a teaching lab component. So let's say let's say one day you're like, listen, I want to create a men's hair care line. And you're like, how would I do that? I don't know. Our space would allow you to do that, because it's funny when I share this, because everyone gets it with food businesses. They're like, oh yeah, commercial kitchens for food entrepreneurs. I get that. We have them all over the city. We don't have that for beauty. And beauty is a huge industry. In the US alone, it's over a $60 billion industry.
Wow.
And the category that I work in, which is natural organic personal care, that's expected to grow to $25 billion in the next couple of years. The thing is small makers, entrepreneurs, we get a very, very tiny percent of that market share. And part of the reason is because we don't have spaces to make products. People are working in their kitchens, they're working in their basements, they're not working in safe environments, they don't understand chemistry, the chemistry behind plant-based formulations, and they're just kind of winging it and selling it at their farmers markets and seeing if it'll, be successful. But if you can create structure and actually provide people with the technical know-how, provide them with an in-house chemist who can help them with formulation so they know what ingredients work well with each other, can provide them with tabletop manufacturing stations. So you can come in and make 50 products, or you can come in and make 1,000 products. And then now that gives you the ability to be competitive, because now you're making a quality product that is made with good manufacturing practices, that's made in a facility that's certified, right? And it reduces that barrier to entry. And so the goal is to work with at least 200 beauty brands in the DMV and utilize this makerspace to really support exponential growth in the district by supporting beauty businesses. Nothing big, just kind of like twiddling my thumbs over here.
I don't expect that at all. I'm genuine. That is so innovative. That is so cool. Shout out to you. DC needs that. I have so many friends right now that are trying to dive into that space as well and don't have these. Like literally, I got to see them when they were struggling to find these sources and connections and plugs to like different things, and like just having a space where there's experienced professionals and a space.
Absolutely.
That is shout out to you.
Yeah. And I'm literally creating the business I wish I had in 2014. Right? Like, I'm just like, when I look back on my journey, and it was so hard to find suppliers and vendors, people who knew what they were doing, people who were trustworthy, people who could deliver, right? And as I think about my journey and where I want to be myself personally, it's kind of your example of, am I going to just make and edit videos all day long? Or am I going to really create systems change? And I've always been in this industry for systems change. My focus has been on the supply side. So like really changing the systems around how these women make this product. But now I realize if I really want to create real systems change, imagine having 200 brands who are working with the same ethos, with the same value, who care about the same things that we care about in our business. That means now in our supply chain, the women that we work with in Africa can now be suppliers to 200 businesses versus just one. And so that to me is systems change. That to me is transformation. Because when one brand can't do it alone, but hundreds of brands, that's tremendous amount of change and impact. And I think for me, if I can leave any sort of like legacy, it's helping other people do businesses right. Versus I think that there is this unhealthy addiction in our community to being the only one. I want to be the only one in the room. I want to be, it's just like, that's not how we create change. We have to bring everyone along. When I learn something, I have to pass that on.
Yes. And that is such a key personality and a key trait. And definitely why I see and have seen the success from you. I mean, yeah, wow. It's very inspiring to hear that, genuinely. So thank you for sharing. Excited to see what you do next. Excited to see that come to fruition and come out more. Like, that is so crazy. I'm definitely going to be updated with that, Rahama. Like, that's...
Yeah. Well, what I do next, after I hopefully, pull this off, I'm going to be at a beach somewhere relaxing.
Oh, good.
I'm going to be in Costa Rica with my coconut water, my fresh coconut water. That's my goal. That's when I know I've arrived. I don't have to do anything. But what about you? What are you looking forward to? I know you're building out the studio and supporting all these other creators and filmmakers, but...
So I would say the next thing right now, the thing that I'm working on right now is, I would say this is my creative baby, and I've been kind of like kicking into gear this year, especially after the 202 Creates program. But I've been basically cultivating this new program with the studio, and it is called my International Artist Program. And I always take inspiration from moments during my career that inspired me, and basically taking that into my studio and taking that to uplift the artists that I work with as well. And basically the International Artist Program, I have basically an index full of embassies right now that are willing to work and engage and work with local artists in the DC area to turn them, exhibit their work and turn them into internationally exhibited artists.
Oh, that's amazing. So that would be in embassies in DC?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so basically, like, when it comes to being an artist myself, I've learned like what is important and what is like what are moves that help uplift you as an artist instead of just what are moves that just help you get a quick bag, and things that create opportunities like working with larger corporations, working with bigger brands, working with countries. Like, these are all moments, and being an internationally renowned artist or internationally exhibited artist, these are huge accomplishments. And I've only seen the best of the best, and only like not even just the best of the best, but like just like such obscure ways of like how they received these opportunities to exhibit internationally. Mm-hmm. It's not an opportunity that a lot of people have or even have. And so for me to be able to create the opportunity where we can partner people with these embassies and create these opportunities and uplift people to basically hit a new ceiling in their career and like really take them to wherever they want to go just because of this one moment. Like, I really believe that it's super beneficial for the community and beneficial for me and my friends, like, genuinely. So this program, basically we will be partnering artists with these embassies, and when we exhibit them, it's like, right now we're looking for more sponsors to be able to make this as marketed and fully produced as we can. And this, I'm genuinely so excited about it. I mean, this has been my creative baby, I would say, for like the past 2 years. But when I joined 202 Creates, I was able to like confidently say like, okay, this is the year that we're going to make it.
Yeah, awesome. I was going to ask you, how has 202 Creates impacted your journey, but you just answered that.
Definitely. I mean, I came in with a mission, and I came in with a goal because, I mean, I would say I've been in the game for like 6 years. So, I mean, I'm not here to just like try to figure out how to like what I want to do. Like, I came in with like, oh, this is what I need, and this is who I need to talk to. And I mean, I'm coming in 100 miles per hour for sure. So
that's awesome. Well, if you need any connections at the State Department, let me know. They do this program where they essentially bring artists, creators, speakers, trainers to U.S. embassies all around the world.
Wow.
And it's through their public affairs office. And it depends on like what the priorities are of that embassy. But they do everything from like, you know, visual artists, actors, business leaders. And I've had the opportunity to travel to several countries with them, more so on the business side. And it's, you know, it's paid for by taxpayers' dollars. So it's a great way to leverage government resources to bring your mission, you know, to as many people as possible. And I think too, a lot of people don't know there are actually funded programs that are there to help make our businesses stronger, better, to give us the resources, and not enough people tap into it. And I think part of it is people don't know about these resources, but also too, people talk themselves out of trying to get them, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, I'm not ready yet. Oh, I haven't done this yet. And it's like, just go for it. You just never know. Like my whole thing is like, I'm not going to say no to myself. Like, I'll let you reject me. I'm not going to reject myself.
At the end of the day, you deserve it.
So if that is an area, if you want to do it globally, so like taking it to other countries, let me know. And I'm happy to make introductions for you.
Yes, Rahama, I would love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Such a pleasure to chat with you. I'm so glad to have talked to you right now. Genuinely, it feels like a full circle moment for sure.
Yeah.
How can we find you?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed this conversation as well. I'm so excited for everything that's happening for you. And yes, please consider me a resource in your network. Folks can find all of our social platforms through Yeleen. So SHEAYELEN. So that's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And then for me, I can be found on LinkedIn, Rahama Wright, and then on Instagram, Rahama Wright as well.
Amazing. Thank you. And definitely tap into the studio at Create for Everything. And the website is createforeverything.com. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Mayor Bowser. Thank you, 202 Creates. It's love.
Yes, thank you all. This is amazing.
Bye.